In just 10 minutes, discover 10 gripping takeaways from Larry Vickers' journey with Shawn Ryan. From a small-town kid with a BB gun to an elite warrior to how guns are in his DNA, enjoy the untold story of a special operations legend. Takeaway 1. A small-town kid with big dreams. Larry Vickers grew up in a tiny town in Ohio called Adams Mills, a place so small it didn't even have a traffic light. He was raised in a working-class household with parents who had both served their country during World War II. His father fought in North Africa and Italy, and his mother worked in a munitions factory making artillery shells. From a very young age, Larry had the kind of freedom that kids today don't really experience. He would leave in the morning with a BB gun or a .22 rifle and not return until dinner. He had no cell phone, no GPS, just trust in open fields. He said they never got bent out of shape about it at all, talking about how his parents let him roam. His early exposure to weapons and independence set the stage for a life dedicated to special operations. For example, Larry got his first BB gun at around 8 years old and would use it to hunt squirrels and rabbits completely unsupervised, which helped him develop an early understanding of weapon handling and situational awareness. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. The war stories that shaped a soldier. Larry Vickers' decision to join the Army was heavily influenced by his father, who served in World War II and spoke highly of elite units like the Rangers. Larry grew up around veterans. In his town, almost every man his father's age had served in the war, which created a strong culture of military pride. But it wasn't just pride. His father also showed signs of post-traumatic stress. Larry recalled how his dad would sometimes get lost in thought and talk about friends who had died in combat. That left a deep impression on him. When Larry flipped through a recruiting pamphlet and read about the Green Berets, he was instantly hooked, especially by the challenge in the line that said only the best could wear the Green Beret. That was the kind of dare he could not walk away from. For example, even though he initially wanted to become a Ranger, it was the Special Forces page in the pamphlet and that one bold statement that completely redirected his life's path. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3, becoming a Green Beret at 18. Larry Vickers became a Green Beret before he even turned 19. He went through the Q course straight out of high school under what was called the SF Baby program. He admitted it was a bad idea to send 18-year-olds into Special Forces, saying they knew nothing and lacked the maturity needed for the job. But he managed to make it through, even if barely. He was one of only 2 out of 13 SF babies to finish the course. What really threw him off was the swimming test. With no real swimming experience growing up, swimming in full gear nearly broke him. "I passed, but barely," he said. The rest of the course focused on land navigation, weapons training, and small team tactics. For example, he shared a story where he correctly identified a part from a foreign rifle that even his instructor didn't recognize, which earned him a break on the next ruck march. That kind of initiative and dedication helped him stand out, even at a young age. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4, a warrior in the wrong unit. Despite earning his Green Beret, Larry realized very quickly that Special Forces was not the right fit for him. He wanted to be a pipe hitter, someone on the front lines kicking in doors and doing direct action raids. But Green Berets focused more on nation-building missions, like training foreign militias in third world countries. That was not what Larry had signed up for. He said plainly, "I had no desire to do that at all." The final straw came during the Grenada invasion. Larry and other younger guys were angry they weren't being sent to the fight while other units were. He began to understand that the role of Green Berets was more political and less action-driven. For example, while deployed for training, his unit was made to do menial tasks like picking up pine cones on base, which deeply frustrated him. That kind of busy work, combined with teammates who smoked weed regularly, made him feel like the elite label didn't mean much anymore. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5, trying and failing to join Delta. After serving in SF for a few years and feeling deeply unsatisfied, Larry got out of the Army and went to college for mechanical engineering. But he couldn't shake the idea of joining Delta Force, which he saw as the ultimate pipe hitters. That thought nagged at him every day. So he re-enlisted specifically to try out for Delta. The first time he failed. He had overtrained his body to the point of exhaustion and broke down early in the stress phase. He voluntarily withdrew and thought he might never get another chance. But during his exit interview, The Delta selection team saw potential in him and allowed him to come back, which was very rare. Larry said he was just one decision away from being denied forever. For example, the second time he trained smarter instead of harder, resting for 2 weeks before the selection and entering the course well prepared, which made all the difference in his performance. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 6. Selection is about your mindset, not muscle. Delta Force selection is less about being a super athlete and more about your ability to think under pressure, endure pain, and operate alone. Larry explained that the cadre don't encourage or discourage you. They say things like, have a good one, and leave you alone. You're expected to navigate rough terrain for miles with a rucksack, using only a map and compass, and you're constantly being evaluated without knowing the standards. He said the training was so intense that even the best guys came into the final phase running on a B- version of themselves. For example, there's a 40-mile ruck march at the end called the Long Walk. Nobody tells you how many checkpoints you have, how long each should take, or how you're doing. You either deliver or you go home. Larry said he trained in the hills of Germany and would ruck for hours up and down mountains to get ready for that final challenge. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. You will fail if you are not honest. Larry emphasized that Delta Force doesn't just look for physical skill, but also for integrity and emotional control. He said you can't bluff your way through the swim tests, the land navigation, or the stress phase. If you lie or cut corners, they will find out. He also made it clear that you are constantly being watched even when you think you're alone. He told how even cadre don't know who passed or failed because the final decisions are made by just 2 people based on secret standards. That means every movement, decision, and attitude you show counts. For example, Larry once helped another candidate who was struggling in land navigation. That wasn't part of the test, but Delta noted that act of leadership and selflessness in his record. That kind of action could make or break your outcome, even if your time wasn't the best. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. His parents never understood his service. Larry Vickers shared that his parents, especially his father, were proud of him but never really understood the level of risk or accomplishment involved in his military career. His father was too old and came from a different time where things were not openly discussed. Larry said, I don't ever remember my dad telling me he loved me, but he knew the love was there. When he joined Delta, the unit required him to tell his family he was now part of a special mission unit because the risk of death or serious injury had gone way up. But the conversation went over their heads. For example, even after the dangerous rescue operation in Panama known as Operation Acid Gambit, where Larry was under heavy fire, his parents didn't really grasp what he had been through. That kind of emotional distance made it easier for Larry to focus on his mission, but he still wished they could have seen what it all meant. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9. Special Forces was broken after Vietnam. Larry Vickers did not hold back in criticizing what Special Forces had become in the early 1980s. He described the environment as disorganized, uninspired, and full of guys just hanging on because they had nowhere else to go. He said it felt more like a club than an elite unit. Marijuana use was common, discipline was poor, and many soldiers were simply coasting. Larry said, that early 80s SF thing was not impressive. Even when he moved to First Group at Fort Lewis, he was made the unit armorer instead of being assigned to a team, and the only deployment he had was a training trip to Korea. For example, he pointed out how they didn't even have team vehicles and had to use their personal cars to go to medical appointments, which shows how poorly resourced and supported the unit really was at the time. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10, guns are in his DNA. After retiring from Delta Force, Larry Vickers turned his passion for firearms into a second career. He founded Vickers Tactical, became a firearms instructor, and consulted for companies like Heckler & Koch and Wilson Combat. He also published detailed books on firearms, including a series called The Vickers Guide. He helped design the HK-416, a rifle that was later used in the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. When asked what his favorite weapon is, he said the M4, including variants like the 416, because he spent so much time with it. For example, Larry said he is especially excited about Volume 4 of the Vickers Guide, which covers advanced weapons like the G36 and the XM8, guns he was directly involved with during his career. His deep technical knowledge and real-world combat experience give him a perspective on weapons that very few people in the world have. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.